Hello everyone. Welcome to the channel. Today, we are going to tell the story of Eleanor Rivers, a young woman who left behind a life of stress and disappointment to find happiness in the simplest and most unexpected places. This is a story about hope, courage, and the small moments that can transform a life. So sit back, relax, and join us as we follow Eleanor on her journey to discover what it truly means to be happy. Eleanor Rivers had never been particularly fond of change, yet here she was, standing on the edge of a new town, suitcase in hand, and heart heavy with uncertainty. The train had left behind a trail of clattering metal and drifting smoke, as if it were shaking off her past life along with it. She inhaled deeply, letting the crisp air of the valley fill her lungs. There was a clarity here, a stillness that made the chaos she had carried seem distant. The town itself seemed to exist in soft focus, as though painted by someone who knew the value of serenity. The cobblestone streets curved gently between houses with peeling paint, blooming window boxes, and creaking gates that seemed to sigh with age. A fountain in the center of the square gurgled cheerfully, surrounded by benches where townspeople sipped tea or chatted quietly. Children darted around in small groups, their laughter ringing clear like bells. For a moment, Eleanor wondered if happiness was contagious here, if it lingered in the air like pollen and sunlight. Her first days were spent exploring cautiously, letting her feet guide her through the narrow lanes. She visited a small market, greeted with warm nods and shy smiles from vendors who seemed to know everyone. She noticed the way the light struck the rooftops at different times of day, how the wind carried the scent of bread and fresh herbs, how even the river at the edge of town moved with a gentle patience that contrasted sharply with the constant rush she had left behind. It was at the cafe by the river where Eleanor met Sam Hayes. He sat at a corner table, sketchbook open, pencil dancing across the page with a fluidity that suggested both skill and ease. He looked up as she hesitated at the door, holding her coffee cup like a fragile object she wasn't sure she deserved. "First time here?" he asked, voice warm, almost teasing. "Yes," she admitted. I'm trying to figure out life, I suppose." Sam smiled knowingly. "Most of us are, in one way or another. But happiness isn't a trophy to win or a prize to claim. Sometimes it hides in the small things, the smell of bread baking, the sunlight on the river, the laughter of children. And sometimes it finds you when you stop looking so hard." Ellie felt a pang of skepticism but found herself drawn into conversation with him. Days passed, and she returned to the cafe each morning, sipping coffee and listening to Sam's stories, tales of wandering through distant lands, of people he had met and lessons he had learned. With each story, he seemed to coax from her a curiosity she had long abandoned, a spark that reminded her of who she had been before the exhaustion, the disappointment, and the relentless drive had drained her. Her younger sister, Maya, came to visit after a month. Bright, vivacious, and full of energy, Maya reminded Eleanor of the girl she had once been, the one who laughed easily, who danced in the rain, who believed that the world was filled with magic. They walked together through the hills surrounding the town, talking about dreams, fears, and the things that had been left unsaid for too long. Maya spoke of hope with a confidence that was almost irritating, but Eleanor felt it seed something in her, a quiet willingness to try again. Over the following weeks, Eleanor tried small acts of kindness. She helped an elderly woman, Mrs. Donnelly, tend her garden, learning the names of flowers she had never noticed before and feeling satisfaction in seeing them bloom. She volunteered at the local library, organizing books and reading to children whose faces lit up when she brought the stories to life. She even tried her hand at baking, laughing as her first attempt at bread emerged slightly burnt, yet somehow still fragrant and comforting. Each small success, each tiny act, felt like a brick in a wall she had begun rebuilding around herself. A wall not of isolation, but of connection. Yet the past was never far behind. One evening, a letter arrived bearing news of a lost opportunity she had once cherished, a reminder of the life she might have had if things had gone differently. For a moment, despair clawed back, threatening to undo all she had built. But as she looked out her window at the golden sunset reflected on the river, she remembered Sam's words. She remembered Maya's laughter, the neighbor's grateful smile, the smell of bread rising in the oven. Life's disappointments could not erase its small wonders, she realized. And slowly, deliberately, she chose to see them. Then came the storm. A sudden, fierce wind tore through the valley, flooding streets and toppling trees. Eleanor joined the townspeople, working tirelessly to help wherever she could. In the chaos, she discovered courage she had never known she possessed. She comforted frightened children, guided the elderly to safety, and carried supplies through the mud-soaked streets. In those moments of shared struggle, she realized that happiness was inseparable from connection, compassion, and purpose. It was something you found in giving, in caring, in being present for others, even when life itself seemed relentless. When the storm passed, Eleanor stood by the river, watching the calm water reflect the sky's soft light. She felt a deep, quiet joy settle within her, a happiness not born of perfection, but of acceptance, of noticing, of being alive in every imperfect, fleeting moment. Life would always be unpredictable, sometimes harsh, sometimes joyous. But she could meet it fully, armed with the small joy she chose to embrace, the love she nurtured, and the courage she had discovered in herself. And so she walked forward, one deliberate step at a time, carrying happiness like a lantern in the dark. It was not a destination, but a companion, always waiting for her in laughter, in sunbeams, in acts of kindness, and in moments of quiet reflection. In that, Eleanor found freedom. In that, she found life. And in life, she found happiness. Thank you so much for watching. We hope Eleanor's story inspired you to find happiness in the small moments of life. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more uplifting stories. See you next time.